Hey, I'm fine, thank you very much. It's very hot here in England, so I'm sitting here sweating. But it's nice to have this opportunity to talk to you.
But first of all, I would like to ask about Final Coil. Since when you are on this rock and metal stage? Since when you are active?
Well, the name Final Coil goes all the way back to 2002, but it was a solo project that I was working on when I was at university. So the band Final Coil kicked off in about 2008, and like most bands, we went through a bunch of different drummers and bassists before we got to the final lineup. Richard, the lead guitarist, has been working with me since the early days. Yola, our bassist, joined in 2008. But really, I guess we didn't become the sort of band we are now until Tony, our drummer, joined in 2014. And that's when we started to really take it seriously. And we recorded the Close to the Light EP and started working towards the album that we've just releasing now.
Great story. Actually, you have signed a deal with the Italian label WormHoleDeath Records, and you are ready to release Persistent of Memory, your new album. You recorded the album in Italy, and how are the recordings went so far?
Recording the album in Italy was the best thing we could ever have done. When Wahumi from Real Sound Studios got in touch and sort of kick-started this whole thing, we were sort of, like anyone, we were a bit worried, how are we going to shift an entire band from the UK to Italy? But actually, once we got over the logistics of getting instruments through the air and sorting out the times, I don't think it could have been better. Real Sound Studios is just one of the most friendly, relaxed environments in which to record. Wahumi knows his stuff inside out. And the two engineers that he has working with him as well, Luca and Chicho, were fantastic. They got what we wanted to do right away. They'd heard the demos that we worked on here in England with our own equipment, and they were just really cool, really laid back, and they made suggestions from time to time that were very sort of respectful to what we wanted to do and very helpful. And I think for the band, it was just the most amazing experience. I mean, no one gets to jump in an aeroplane and then live in Italy for 20 days to record an album. That's just a dream come true. And it was. We were there in this beautiful town of Langherano. It was sunny every day, despite the fact that it was December. We were up in the mountains, and we got to get up in the morning, go to the studio and record. And I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? It was absolutely amazing, and it was really not stressful at all. We knew the material very, very well. We worked on it very hard before we went out to Italy. So it wasn't like we were sort of making stuff up as we went along. This record was mapped out for a long time, and it came out exactly as we wanted it to do. But that was made possible because Wahumi and his colleagues were just awesome every step of the way. Yeah.
Now, tell me, what is the story behind Persistence of Memory? What is the theme of it?
The Persistence of Memory it's not a concept album as such, although I think it's got a loose conceptual theme running through it, which is the absence, the lack of communication between people and the trouble that throws up. So different songs look at different aspects of that, and I don't think that we went into it intending it to be that way, but it just transpired that that's where our lyrical themes were heading at that time. So a song like Corruption juxtaposes kind of the illness in a family that's not talked about and is kind of allowed to fester, with a more malevolent sort of lying member of a family, and the troubles that cause. A song like myopic, deals with a lack of communication between people and the difficulties that causes. And then the two songs that Richard wrote were more about the sort of ambivalent communicative nature of the internet and the way that people will type a lot but say nothing. So the album as a whole kind of looks at the sort of modern society that we live in, these kind of separated families, separated by sort of digital technology, separated by lies, separated by disease, and the sort of the title, The Persistence of Memory, I think is the kind of regrets that we have and internalise when we're kind of lying awake at night thinking about all of those things. So yeah, it's an album very much about kind of lost communication, a little bit of lost hope, but I think there are elements that are positive as well, and Failed Light in particular perhaps is the ray of light in all of that. Failed Light is very much about how you can lie awake at night and worry about these things, but then if you've got someone who has faith in you and has trust in you, somehow you can kind of make it through to the other side. So it's not all completely negative. I wouldn't want it to come across like that. It's more of a rumination. It's a consideration of these things.
The first song that was actually as a preview was Corruption. Also, the label posted it, and you as well. So, have you got any feedback of this song and then on the album already?
We haven't had much. It's still very early days, but we've had a little bit of feedback on Corruption from sort of websites and friends, basically saying that they were really sort of impressed with the sort of how heavy the overall sound was, but also praising the vocals and the harmonies, which is something that we're I guess is kind of our main theme. You know, we're a heavy band, but at the same time, we don't have heavy vocals. We prefer the music and the subject matter to be heavy, but both Richard and myself are very much more melodic singers. It's not that we don't like screamy music or that we don't even play some of it ourselves. It didn't fit what we wanted to achieve with this album. We wanted to achieve something more progressive, more airy. And I have to say, mostly the feedback's been very positive. There was a review posted today which very much praised the music, but wasn't at all keen on the vocals. That the reviewer felt that the vocals were I think, not strong enough for his tastes. But as much as on the one hand I do pay credence to what people say, I just feel that he missed the point of the record. I don't think this is a record that was meant to have heavy vocals, and the sound that we're aiming for is definitely more in the vein of the kind of ethereal. So yeah, on the whole, really, really positive feedback, but, you know, obviously there's going to be a few people, and I'm sure there's going to be more, who probably won't like the record because it's got clean vocals all the way through, and it doesn't have that grit that some people expect to find in heavier music.
What about the cover artwork? It looked like it is painted. It was great.
Oh, thank you. The cover artwork is by a guy called Andy Pilkington, and he's got a company called Very Metal Art, and he is, bar none, the best guy working in album artwork at the moment. For me, album artwork is one of the most important things. You know, the music obviously comes first, but I'm very much a believer in the physical package, and album artwork is something that I very, very strongly believe in. And Andy Pilkington gets that absolutely, and the best thing about him is that he gets involved, he listens to the music, he asks you for the lyrics, he wants to know the meaning behind the songs, so he has a discussion a bit like you and I have just had now. And then he goes away and he comes back with what he feels the album means. And I have to tell you, when we saw the artwork for the first time, and I realised that this man, this artist, had created this cover from music that we'd made, it was absolutely amazing to me, and it still is. I can't recommend him highly enough, and I'm so proud that he did that cover and he did that artwork for us, and also that was what our music bought out of him. That's something that I think will always mean the world to me.
Do you have other releases, or Persistent of Memory is your debut?
It's our debut album, but we've got a few releases in our dim and distant past. The most sort of recent one was an EP self-released called Close to the Light, and that was the EP that got Wahumi and WormHoleDeath interested in us. It's something we did about 2 years ago now. We've also got a bit of a heavier EP called Live With Doubt, and in between those two we did a self-recorded, self-produced acoustic EP, which I think probably laid the template for what we did with Persistence of Memory. It was much more progressive, longer songs with more diverse structures, and particularly those vocal harmonies that are so important to us as musicians and artists.
What are the main influences for you, as you call yourself being a heavy metal band, and then having some progressive elements as well?
I'm not sure I've ever described us as a heavy metal band. I think we're much more of an alternative band with progressive influences. But that said, we've got a lot of fans from the heavy metal world, and I think we've always had an affinity with heavy metal because, particularly on stage, we can be very kind of visceral in our performance. But in terms of influences, thinking bands like Tool, Alice in Chains obviously are a very, very big influence. And then there's a wide variety of things kind of simmering underneath the surface. Pink Floyd is a big one, Radiohead as well, Anathema, Paradise Lost. So there's a real kind of range of influences in there, and I think that's really important because we never set out to sound like this band or this genre. The music that we make, first and foremost, is the music that we like to listen to as a band. And so that sort of informs the sound. So, one song may have really heavy riffs and another song may be really spacey and have samples and other progressive elements. And it just reflects who we are as people. But yeah, so there's a wide range of influences in there.
Are you ready to start a tour soon? Are any other shows confirmed? There in UK or somewhere else?
Well, UK, we've already got quite a few shows lined up. We're playing in Sheffield. We've got gigs lined up in Nuneaton, Leicester, later on in Kettering. So very much kind of Midlands and the North at the moment. But what we're looking into is a sort of wider UK tour towards the end of the year. But the main thing that we want to do, and one of the reasons that we were so excited to sign with WormHoleDeath, is that we really want to come and play out in Europe. So obviously, we're all full-time workers and we've got to arrange that around our lives, but I hope in conjunction with WormHoleDeath what we can do is put together at least 4 or 5 dates and just bring our show out to Europe, because my wife is and our bassist Yola is Polish, so we have this dream that we're going to go and play in Poland at some point. Obviously we're an Italian label, we recorded in Italy, so it would be amazing for us to go to Italy, France. We've got wide ambitions to make it to as much of Europe as will have us, basically.
Yeah, maybe you will come in Romania as well, from where am I, so why not? It would be nice to see you.
We've heard nothing but good things about the Romanian hard rock and metal scene, and I think, I've come across even Romanian bands in the past, although particularly sort of black metal, sort of black folk metal, and that would be something that we would love to do.
Exactly. What other plans do you have regarding touring? Are you planning maybe to shoot a video for one of the songs?
We've actually shot a video already for one of the songs. It's just in the final editing stages. And that song is the 4th track on the album. It's a song called You Waste My Time, which is a very different song for us. It's got more sort of electronic percussion. It's a little bit kind of Paradise Lost sort of Host era Paradise Lost kind of vibe to it. But yeah, we shot the video for that, funnily enough, in a garden centre. we were able to utilise this old workshop and do that. And we did this performance video while the garden centre was open, which I think amused the customers somewhat. And we're also planning to do a second video later on in the month. That's going to be for one of our heavier tracks, a song called In Silent Reproach, which actually recently came out on the Antichrist Metal Zine compilation number 6, which was cool. So basically we've got one video almost ready to go, and that's going to be coming out in next month or so, and then there'll be a second video as well. So we're really working hard to sort of make this album, sort of bring it across formats so that people can experience it in a number of different ways.
Well, I can't wait to see that soon, when it will be out.
Oh, thank you. Well, hopefully it'll be soon.
With this new album, what expectations do you have further? I mean, after this, are you planning to start writing new materials for a new album?
Well, the funny thing is, like, we never expected to be in this position in the first place. So, and I'm realistic enough to know how many albums are released every week, every year, to know that it's very difficult to make your name in the music world. But that said, this is a dream for us. Being able to release this album worldwide and with WormHoleDeath is something that we never thought would happen, and we want to make the absolute most of this. So. At the moment, I've been feeling very inspired. In the last month or so, I've actually written, I think, 9 songs for the second album already. So those are fully demoed out, and I don't know if I should sort of talk too much about this or not, but the idea at the moment is I really want to do the next album as a much more conceptual piece built around one conceptual framework. So whereas the last album, the songs were drawn from across a period of time, as you might expect from a debut album, this album, I'm trying to write it to one coherent idea. So I think it's going to be, musically, it'll build upon the themes of the first album, but lyrically, I think it's going to be maybe a step above where we've already been, because it's just going to have that consistent theme. So I can't say what my expectations are with regards to how many people will listen to this or where it's going to go, although obviously I have hopes. But what I can say is that as a band, we are very creative, we're very inspired, and we're very anxious to start working on another record already, because we're not planning on stopping anytime soon.
When you're writing music or being on stage, what do you guys like to do in your free time? What other hobbies do you have?
Well, I can't speak for everybody in the band, but myself but for myself and Yola, I mean, we are music geeks, I guess. I mean, we spend our time going to concerts. We always believe that the best way to make music is to absorb as much as you can from other people. I don't mean so much sort of musically, but in terms of how they play, how they present themselves on stage, how they interact with people. So, I mean, we love nothing better than going to festivals, going to concerts, and basically just absorbing as much as we can musically. We spend a lot of time listening to vinyl records in the house. So yeah, we're terrible music geeks. My wife Yola, she does a lot of photography of rock bands and metal bands as well. I write for a webzine, so we're just kind of always doing something that's creative and musical, because life is short, and I just want to take every opportunity to do something creative and new and different, and learn and grow as an individual. And sort of doing music and travelling, those are probably the two things that are the most important to us.
Yeah, every rock and metal lover likes to go to gigs. So me. Well then, it was my pleasure, Phil, to have this interview with you, and soon I will look forward to see the new video, and well, hope to see you also one day on stage. Thank you for the interview, and cheers from Scalpinger Media.